In an ancient monastery located on the foggy hills of Japan lived a young monk named Sora. Since he was a child, Sora had been raised in the temple, immersed in meditation and in the learning of Zen teachings. He was diligent and curious, but there was a question that he could not solve and that tormented him for years because life was so unpredictable and sometimes cruel. The teachings of the monastery spoke of serenity and acceptance, but Sora could not fully understand the meaning. Every time he tried to find answers in the ancient texts, he found himself even more confused. One day, after attending a series of unfortunate events in the nearby village, a harvest destroyed by a storm, the illness of a child, and the sudden death of a young man, he decided to turn directly to his master, an old monk named Hiroshi, famous for his wisdom and his ability to see beyond the appearance of things. "Master," Sora said as he bent down deeply, "I have a question that I cannot get out of my mind. Why is life so unfair? Why do some people seem to suffer so much while others prosper effortlessly? Is it all just a matter of chance? Or is there a reason behind all this?" Master Hiroshi observed him for a long time, as if he were evaluating the depth of his question. Then, with a calm smile, I made a vow to follow him. The two left the monastery and headed towards the garden, a place of peace and beauty, where silence was interrupted only by the singing of the birds and the rustle of the wind among the branches of the trees. After crossing the garden, they reached an old cherry tree. Among its branches was a finely braided spiderweb, bright with rust in the light of the early morning sun. The drops of water that reflected the light of the sun made the spiderweb look like a gem embedded in the landscape. "Look carefully at this spiderweb, Sora," said the master in a calm tone. "See how each thread is connected to the others. See how the entire structure is interdependent. This spiderweb is like life. Each thread represents an action, an event, a decision, or an encounter. If you pull a single thread, even the smallest, the entire network will feel it. Every vibration spreads through the spiderweb, influencing everything that surrounds it." Sora looked at the spiderweb and observed how each thread was connected in a complex way. There was not a single point that was not connected to the others. Then the master took a small stick and gently touched one of the external threads. Immediately, the entire spiderweb moved, shaking to the center, where a tiny spider was still, waiting. "Master, I understand that everyone's actions can have consequences," Sora said. "But how does this apply to the sufferings and joys of life? What does a spiderweb have to do with the fate of human beings?" Hiroshi looked at it with compassion. Every suffering, every joy, every success, and every failure is like a wave that spreads through this spiderweb. What we consider unfortunate could only be the result of a thread that tends elsewhere because of an event that we cannot see. Every time something painful happens, like the illness of a child or the loss of a harvest, it is as if a part of the web had been shaken, but it is not isolated. Even a single movement can influence everything. The young monk reflected on the words of the master for a long time, but still could not see the complete picture. "So, master, suffering is inevitable. We are just puppets in a web that we cannot control." Master Hiroshi shook his head and pointed the spider to the center of the spiderweb. "No, sister, we are not puppets, but we are part of a network of causes and effects. Our suffering is born when we try to control what we cannot, when we cling to the threads of the spiderweb, hoping to dominate them. But every gesture, every thought influences this network. We cannot completely avoid the vibrations, but we can choose how to react to them." Then, with a slow and delicate gesture, Hiroshi made a knot on one of the broken threads of the spiderweb. "Look," he said, "this knot is the symbol of our ability to repair what seems broken. Even if the spiderweb has been shaken or damaged, we can remedy it. We cannot prevent every suffering, but we can learn to rebuild, to weave new connections that help us find a balance. Every time we make a gesture of kindness, that we choose to forgive, that we refuse to feed hatred, we are creating new knots in the spiderweb of destiny. These knots, in turn, propagate positive waves throughout the network. Sister carefully observed the knot created by the master. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it seemed to restore stability to the spiderweb. So, master, he finally said, if we cannot control everything, can we influence the way the spiderweb moves? Exactly. To us, Hiroshi, every little action we take, a smile, a gesture of support, a kind word, is like a delicate touch on the spiderweb. It may seem insignificant, but it can create waves of change that propagate far away, touching lives we do not know and influencing destinies we cannot see. In the same way, every time we let anger, fear, or resentment guide our actions, we are creating tension and disharmony in the network. At that point, a light breeze made the branches of the cherry swing, and the spiderweb trembled slightly, but remained intact thanks to the knots created by the master. The young monk felt a strange calm descending on him, as if a veil of understanding had finally been lifted. So, master, how can I live in harmony with this spiderweb? Accept what you cannot change, and act wisely on what is in your possibilities, replied Hiroshi. Recognize that every life, every event is connected. Do not think only of your well-being or your suffering. When you suffer, remember that your suffering is linked to that of others. And when you find peace, try to share that peace with the world. Just like a spider builds its web with patience and dedication, so you too must be your life with attention and love. The young monk, slowly annoyed, looking at the spider web in the sunlight, finally realizing that life was neither unfair nor casual. Every event, every emotion, and every decision were like the threads of that spider web, all intertwined with each other, forming a complex and wonderful design that, although sometimes painful, possessed its intrinsic meaning and beauty. Moral life is like an intertwined spider web where every action, every thought, and every emotion are intertwined with those of others. We cannot control everything that happens, but we can choose how to contribute to weaving this web, creating harmony rather than disharmony. Even the smallest action can spread through time and space, influencing lives that we do not know and destinies that we do not see.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope it will positively enrich your life. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and join our Mind in Evolution channel for more content like this. See you soon in the next episode.